All right, do we treat prisoners better than pensioners in Queensland? That is the claim being made today by the state's One Nation leader, Steve Dickson. He's grilled the Corrective Services Minister, Mark Ryan, and estimates about the money spent on inmates, prisoners, in particular TVs. Figures show that in the last year, inmates in Queensland jails have smashed, that's it, broken up, smashed 2,404 TVs. It's cost you, the taxpayer, well over $300,000 to replace. Why are they replacing these things? If they smash them up, they don't deserve them back. Steve Dickson also took issue with the fact that corrections are buying 1,000 new bunk beds for inmates at $2,000 a bed. I've got the One Nation leader on the line now. Steve, good afternoon.
Hey, Ben, how you doing? Good to hear your voice, mate.
What did the minister have to say when you challenged him on this spending?
Ben, I've got the yarn here written in front of me, but I'll paraphrase it. Basically, that we need to look after these lovely individuals so that they can live better lives and be ready to get out and jump into the workforce. And I know a whole lot of pensioners now that want to start robbing banks so they can get into prison and have the good life.
The good life. So you're suggesting it's better behind bars than outside it?
Well, mate, I've got people in my electorate burning candles, so they can't afford electricity. So in prison, you get the TVs, you get the nice, comfortable beds, you get a bit of dental care and health care, and I'm sure you can go duck off to the gym if you're feeling like you just want to have a bit of a workout. Seriously, mate, when you've done the crime, you go to jail and you shouldn't be treated to the life of comfort. You shouldn't be treated to the life of luxury, and you shouldn't be treated better than pensioners, mate. I've got a lot of people that are suffering. We've got 20,000 people living in cars in this state.
2,404 TV smashed. What did the minister say as in why are they replacing them?
Well, mate, I'll read you a little comment. Where we are, how are we here? Mr. Ryan, as you correctly identified, prisoners who wish to have televisions in their cells have to pay for those TVs. This is at a rental cost, and there are consequences if they get damaged, including the possible paying of replacement, having the right to have that TV taken from their cell, or they could even be referred for criminal charges. They're in bloody jail. Sorry about that, but, I get it already. I mean,
well, tack it on to the end of their sentence.
Then, I honestly don't care, and I'm going to sound like a hard ass, but you go to prison, you should be treated not as well as you're treated in the outside world. You should be treated a hell of a lot worse, and you should learn that you shouldn't commit crimes. Not be given bloody TVs and comfortable beds, mate. I'd be giving them straw and mattresses to lay on, and that's being brutally frank.
$2 a week they pay for these TVs, and they get, I don't know if it's Netflix or something, but they get movie channels on them, and then they destroy the TVs.
It's called commercial-free TV to air. Isn't that lovely? They don't have to watch commercials either, so, they're getting treated better than all of us, too, because I've still got to watch commercials.
All right, well, my issue is that they're replacing these bloody things. If they're smashing them, they don't deserve to have them back.
Well, Ben, why would you give somebody a TV back if they wrecked it? But more to the point, why would you give them bloody TVs at all? Mate, these people, they're in prison for a reason. They're not put in prison because they're nice people. I've got kids going to local schools that can't have air conditioning, but they get air conditions in prisons. I'm being told that we've got to treat these people lovely and really look after them. I think we need to get off our backsides and, I wake up every day in this state, I feel like I'm living in the twilight zone. The cost of power's gone through the roof. Prisoners can do what they bloody like, and our pensioners are absolutely being treated worse than prisoners. Ben, that's the truth. I think there's nobody in the state who wouldn't realise that, particularly after hearing about the 2,404 TVs destroyed, and we pay for them.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Steve, I've got an email coming through actually from Barry on this. He's out at Margate, and this is what he said, and I agree with him on this, just as on the issue of not giving them TVs at all. He said, Ben, I agree prisoners shouldn't have smashed the TVs and have them replaced. But keep in mind the last thing prison officers want is a bunch of bored inmates with nothing to do. Idle hands and minds do the devil's work. You've got to have something for them to keep them occupied.
I tell you what, Ben, I'm a little bit old-fashioned, but I tell you what, we've got a heap of work that could be done in our national parks, because I know when I was the minister I couldn't afford to hire enough rangers. 12.5 million hectares of ground. We've got all this buffalo grass up in the north, mate. Let's get them up there and pull some bloody grass out. Let's get them doing some physical work. Get them out in the sunshine. Won't do them any harm. I mean, seriously, we are a soft-touch community these days. We are accepting this, and if we're willing to accept it, it's going to be to our detriment. Who can afford to pay for this anyway? I want to pay for our kids to get a good education. I want to pay for our pensioners so they can have the lights on at night. I want to do things that are going to help everyday Queenslanders, mate. These two parties have absolutely lost their way, and we've got to change this system. I am not going to be a soft-touch for prisoners.
Steve, as much as I'm agreeing with you on this, I need to ask you the question, all right, how do you solve it? How will you, and this is where your chance is to get the votes, where and how do you solve this problem?
Ben, you break the glass and you go back and look at the best of where we had. You don't have to give these people everything in the world. Mate, we've got a whole lot of mining camps in Western Queensland that are being closed down. Maybe they need to go and get rehabilitated in areas that aren't quite as comfy as what we're providing them. I know there's a shortage of cells in Queensland, and if people are doing the wrong thing, they go to bloody prison. If we need to hire more prison guards, let's hire more prison guards.
We need to build more jails.
This is about frontline services.
How do we fix the power prices then, Steve?
Actually, I've got some good. You're going to hear about it. I'm going to do a yarn with the Australian next Tuesday, so they'll probably write that Wednesday, and it's going to be a big yarn.
Hey, well, it's 20 past 4 on a Friday. Why don't you tell me now? Don't worry about the Australian.
See, Ben,
you've got an open mic right now.
Ben, I'll give you. This is from estimates on Monday. I actually put this to the Premier. I put a question to the Premier about Adani, and it had to do with the left, right, and centre of the Labor Party, because one part of the Labor Party doesn't want it, the other part of the Labor Party does want it, in the middle they really don't know what they want. And I said to the Premier, we should be building more coal-fired power stations in Queensland. I did that on Sky News back about 3 months ago. And she said, well, where would you build it? Next to the Great Barrier Reef? And I said, no, I'd build it next to a coal mine so you don't have to transport the coal. But there are so many things that we've got to do. I am absolutely in favour of coal, and I am absolutely in favour of building coal-fired power stations. Why do you think we're exporting coal to India so they can have cheap electricity? We got the dearest power in the world.
All right, talk me through some numbers then, because this is the important stuff. We can say build the power stations. How much is it going to cost, and how is it going to bring down pensioners' power bills?
Well, Ben, it's very simple, because we are paying for alternative power now, which encompasses solar and wind and all of these wonderful things, and they're very, very good. And I'd love to have them all, as we all would, but they cost a lot of money, and we actually subsidise them. When you subsidise something, that means that you're giving a bit of an uplift because it can't compete in the real world. And I asked that exact question of the Premier also on Monday, and the question I just spoke about, can you give us a differential between buying the cost of gas compared to coal? And she wouldn't answer the question, because coal is substantially cheaper than gas, and we all know why that is, because we've sold ourselves out to every country in the world, and we pay the dearest gas prices in the world. Then it's pretty simple arithmetic. When you sell yourself out and you're selling the rest of the world cheap energy and you're paying the dearest in the world, you need to step back and go, well, why is that? Generation
companies, they're voting with their money. I mean, they need to invest into something, but they're not, because there's no clear policy. And this is what we're looking for here, clear policy on what's going to happen.
I think you're about my age. I think it could possibly be a little bit younger, but we grew up in a time where we had coal-fired power stations and cheap energy, and we had cheap water. And then they decide they sell it on to private enterprise, and they tell us how much cheaper it's going to get. Do you reckon everybody's cottoned on yet that private enterprise likes to make a profit? And I don't blame them for that. I think it's great, but governments have a responsibility to deliver products to their consumers, which is us, the taxpayers, and it should be done at a price that is making
with that profit though comes efficiency, and we know the wheels of government turn very slowly as well. So there's an alternative argument for that. Again, it's one thing to say that we're going to do it. How are we going to do it?
Well, Ben, you'll be hearing about it next week. As I said, I promised
the
Australian I'm going to give them an exclusive, and I can't help it. I'm not pushing their barrel either. It's not advertising for them.
Oh, good. All right, we might have a chat next week. Steve, appreciate your time.
To do that. Thank you for your time, and listeners. Drive safely.
There we go, Steve Dickson, the One Nation leader. I mean, look, there's a lot of noise there, and he's right. I'm with him on as far as the jails are concerned. They shouldn't be replacing these TVs whatsoever. But where's the solutions? Maybe we'll see next week.